Hey, Life Group Leaders, this is Steve, and I just wanted to say thanks for watching this week's leader video. This is something I do for you most weeks and try to help prepare you and set you up to be able to be effective at leading your life group, leading the people that God's charged you to pastor here at the Orchard Church. So thank you for all that you do. First of all, I want to update you on a couple of things, and then I want to give you the heads up on your life group discussion for this week. So the first thing I want to update you on is our worship leader hiring status. You may have noticed this past weekend that we had a candidate in to lead worship as a guest worship leader. And so we've had a couple of candidates in here and there. This was our first one to actually let him try out a Sunday morning, or let us try him out on a Sunday morning. His name is Jeff Parker, and I'm pleased to announce that Jeff has accepted the position of full-time worship leader at the Orchard Church, and his first day will be the middle of March. We got to give him a few extra weeks because he's a big sissy and he's got to make everybody happy back home. He'll be moving here from Sylva, North Carolina, and he'll be bringing his wife, Tiffany, and their children. They got 4 kids that you're going to love. And so that's all going to be happening over the next several weeks. His first official Sunday morning leading worship with us will be Sunday, March the 22nd. So Jeff Parker and his family will be here the week before that, but the first Sunday will be March the 22nd. Not only that, but on that evening, March the 22nd, we're going to be having our next VIP meeting. We wanted to have it on that night so that we could sort of have a little welcome party for Jeff and his family, a chance for you to kind of get to know him a little bit. Maybe we'll get him to share his testimony and to talk a little bit about where they come from and what God's been doing in their lives. That ought to be really good. And we'll also really be talking seriously about Easter at that point. Yeah, Easter is just 7 Sundays away from now, 7 Sundays away from now. So it's really coming up fast, and we're getting all ready for that. So that's kind of the update I wanted to kind of get you in on so that you could go ahead and be thinking about getting to know Jeff and his wife, Tiffany, at the VIP meeting on the 22nd. So how'd you like the start of the Romans series? We started talking about the Apostle Paul. We just let him introduce himself last Sunday. And this week, we're kind of completing Paul's introduction of himself. So last week we looked at 4 words really in Romans, and this week we're going to look at 4 words in Romans. And we're going to be talking about how Paul says he is called as an apostle and set apart for the gospel. He is set apart for the gospel. He is an apostle for the gospel. And so are you. And so is everybody in your group. We're all apostles. An apostle simply is a messenger. You know, before the New Testament, apostle was a regular term that everybody used. Anytime somebody came bearing good news, especially from the Caesar, they were called an apostle. And the New Testament even refers to a lot of other people who aren't one of the 12 chosen capital A apostles. You know, it refers to a lot of other little lowercase apostles, people like you and like me, people who have the good news and have been called to proclaim that good news. That's who you are, and that's who our people are. So it's for that reason on Sunday that I'm making sure everybody gets one of these ambassadorial lanyards. Yeah, an apostle is an ambassador for Christ. And so we're going to get these cool little ID lanyards, and they'll have strings on them. I don't have mine right now. But the back of these lanyards allow for you to write down the names of 3 people that God is leading you to pray for and to share your faith with. And so this is kind of a big deal. I'm asking everybody to write down 3 names. And I'm asking you, life group leaders, to hold your people accountable on this. Yeah, make sure that you ask them, where's your lanyard? Are you keeping it with you? Do you have it in your car? Do you have it in your backpack or in your briefcase? Are you keeping it with you so that you can be praying for those people, that God would give you a divine appointment to share your faith with those people? I really believe that God's called us to be ambassadors. And I think that we drop the ball on this an awful lot. But we are called to be apostles, to be ambassadors. The thing about being an ambassador is it requires something that we don't naturally have within us. Being an ambassador for Christ requires the power of the Holy Spirit. Yeah, witnessing, sharing our faith with somebody is not something we have the power to do on our own. Jesus said so himself. In Acts 1:8, he told his disciples that the Holy Spirit would come to them. He said, you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you. In other words, you don't have the power now, but you will have the power when the Spirit comes. The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and you will be my witnesses, telling people about me everywhere in Jerusalem, Judea, in Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. Now, this is a really important thing, that it requires the Spirit's power. Witnessing requires the Spirit's power. Can't do it without the Spirit. Not only that, but when you witness to someone, when you proclaim the good news, share the good news with them, they can't even respond without the Spirit's power. Right? I mean, it takes a Holy Spirit empowerment for someone to make a spiritual decision, to give a spiritual response. Because the unspiritual person, the non-Christian, is spiritually dead, according to Ephesians 2. Dead, not able to make a response. Jesus himself said that no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws them to me. The Father has to draw them, and the way he does that is through the active agent of the Father in this world. The Holy Spirit draws them. This is incredibly freeing to me, because I believe in sharing the gospel any chance I get. And I do. I share the gospel all the time, individually and corporately when I'm preaching. And so I believe that it's my responsibility to be obedient and to proclaim the good news, to go to the nth degree of obedience and beg and plead anyone to give their lives to Christ. That's on me. But I'll tell you what's not on me is their response. Their response is on the movement of the Holy Spirit. It's on him, not on me. And you've heard me talk about in the past, I've been guilty of trying to manipulate people to Christ. I've tried to take the Holy Spirit's job and do it myself. That's a lack of trust. That's me saying, Holy Spirit, you can't do your job. I got to do it for you. That's been a sin that I've committed against God. So it's been incredibly freeing that I know that I've got to obey by sharing, but I am not responsible. I'm not accountable for people actually responding. I'm accountable for obeying and doing the best I can as frequently as I can to share the gospel, but it's the Holy Spirit that actually draws people to Jesus. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's kind of a big deal. The other big deal is I'm going to be asking a question in our life group discussion questions that I want to set you up on. I don't provide the answer, but I want to provide you with the answer. This is your chance to kind of know your junk and look good with your life group. So I'm going to ask this specific question. Here's what it says. Jesus in Acts 1:8, he tells us that we are to be his witnesses, right? He says, you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses, telling people about me everywhere. In Jerusalem, in Judea, in Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. Yeah, so Jesus is really explicit about where we are to be sharing our faith. And so here's my question that I'm asking in the life group discussion questions. Are you ready? Here it is. I'm asking the question, what is the significance of the locations that Jesus lists in Acts 1:8? What's the significance of him saying Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth? And I want you to be able to guide your group in the answer to this question. And it's really pretty simple. Jesus is really drawing a picture for them, a picture of concentric, ever expanding circles, right? So he starts in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is sort of the hub. It was the city. It was the place where they were. It was their hometown, you might say. And so he says, you'll be my witnesses right where you are in Jerusalem today. You're my witnesses right here, right now. So that's Jerusalem. In Judea, Judea is the region that surrounds Jerusalem. Jerusalem was the capital of Israel, but the capital specifically of Judea. And so it's the surrounding area around their hometown. For us, that might be North Georgia or Georgia. You know, it's you're my witnesses wherever you go, and you find people that don't know me, you are my witness. Then he says something really interesting. He says Jerusalem, Judea, and then he says Samaria. Now, I wonder sometimes why he said Samaria. Samaria is the next place out. It's the next concentric circle out. It's farther away than Judea from Jerusalem, but he didn't have to say Samaria. He could have said Galilee, because good Jewish people could get to Galilee without going through the area that shall remain unnamed, Samaria. That's where the Samaritans live, the undesirables. Is Jesus calling us to go not just to our town, not just to the people around us, but to the undesirables near us, the undesirables next door? So it's an ever expanding circle: Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and then lastly, he says to the ends of the earth. Now, obviously, this is clear. This is the widest circle, and it's the farthest corners. It's the people wherever on the globe you may go and find yourself. That's where I want you to be my witnesses. You can't take a step in this life and not be somewhere where God's called you to be his witness. This is huge for us, and I think we forget it all the time. I think we get all about our day-to-day everything, going to the store, going to work, taking care of business, providing for our family, doing whatever, and we forget that every step we take is a step into a mission field. And so I want you to be able to articulate this idea to your life group this week. The biggest tool that the people in your life group have in their faith sharing ambassadorial toolbox is their testimony. A testimony is just simply your story of who you were before Christ, how you came to know Christ, and who you've been since Christ. It's a simple story. And I really want to help your life group develop their testimony. That's why we do the New Life class. The next New Life class is coming up on March 22nd. But on March 22nd, when we go through the New Life class, we have a whole section on developing your testimony. We help everybody, we coach every individual on writing a 9-sentence, simple, easy to work into the conversation testimony. It's not a, let's drag out all my past sins and let's talk about my evil past life. No, nobody wants to hear that. This is just simply 9 sentences explaining who I was before Christ, how I met Christ, and what my life has been like since coming to know Christ. So I want you to encourage your people to be part of the New Life class, to develop that testimony. Maybe you can share your simple testimony with your group this week to encourage them, to lead them by example. And if you don't know your testimony, maybe you should join me at the New Life class on March 22nd. I'd love to have you there. It's really one of my favorite classes that we do. It's something that we've developed in-house, written from scratch, and it is fantastic. So please consider doing that and leading your group by example. Well, that's the whole video. Longer than I meant it to be. They always are. But I hope it's helpful to you. That's why I do these. God bless you. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you on Sunday.